and economic depression, particularly in the eastern and Midwest regions where the war was fought. Several authors, including Chinua Achebe, have chronicled the devastating consequences of that war on Igbo land and its impact on the prospect of nation building across the country in the years that follows. But even before the war, social insecurity existed in the country at two fundamental levels. At the personal level, it manifested as fear of rejection, low self-esteem, and inferiority complex fostered by colonialism. Also part of the problem was the gradual breakdown of traditional values, which were steadily supplanted by foreign religions and cultures, coupled with disruptive urban-rural migration. At the broader national level, its most notable manifestations include ethno-religious tensions and conflicts, poverty, pogroms, unemployment, and fear of domination or exclusion from the locus of political and economic power amongst marginalized or minority groups. Given that social insecurity, economic depression, and misgovernance affect one another, it is not surprising that after the war, General Yakubu Gowon's mismanagement of proceeds from the so-called oil boom of the early 1970s not only exacerbated the problems of insecurity and economic depression, it also laid the foundation for the failure of Nigeria to emerge as the economic powerhouse of Africa decades after he was overthrown. In terms of governance generally, General Gowon performed below average relative to available human and natural resources in the country. To start with, the administration instituted programs such as the 3 R's. The 3 R's meant reconciliation, reconstruction, and rehabilitation, to ameliorate the tremendous damage of the Civil War on the defunct Eastern region. The National Youth Service Corps Program, federal government colleges, National Sports Festival, the Festival of Sports and of Arts and Culture, all in a bid to promote national unity and reduce social insecurity. But he was unable to control, let alone hold accountable, corrupt powerful members of his government. The ridiculous and the economically damaging cement armada, which, as Maxiolu reports, meant that at one point, half of the world, please listen to this, half of the world's cement orders were headed to Nigeria. It's unbelievable. Underscores the wastefulness of Gowon's administration. On July 29, 1975, precisely 9 years after the Northern Revenge coup that brought him to power, Gowon was overthrown and General Murtala Ramat Mohammed replaced him. Mohammed was a harsh, a brash, bold, and very religious person. To give effect to his claim that the new government would be a corrective regime, he took certain decisions and actions that were probably well-intentioned, but which had disastrous consequences. One of them was the massive purge of the federal civil service, ostensibly to rid it of corruption and inefficiency. Unfortunately, in the process, he threw away the baby with the dirty bathwater. As many experienced civil servants were replaced by people with questionable credentials and experience. Thus, although many Nigerians at that time saw General Mohammed as a bold and fearless leader, courageous enough to take radical decisions for the good of the country, the purges his administration undertook had been blamed for the subsequent decline in morale, efficiency, and productivity of the civil service. Again, Mohammed's simplistic black and white approach to issues of national concern generated avoidable crises among his colleagues and some sections of and some sections of the citizenry. On February 13, 1976, he was assassinated in a failed coup led by Lieutenant Colonel Bukaswadinka. General Obasanjo, Olusegun Obasanjo, his second in command as the chief of staff, became head of state. Scholars, notable amongst whom is Erosa Osagai, correctly interpret Obasanjo's regime as a continuation of Mohammed's administration, because Obasanjo retained the same structures and key members of the administration and faithfully stuck to the agenda of the regime outlined in the transition to civil rule program. In retrospect, the neglect of agriculture by Obasanjo's government after launching the poorly implemented Operation Feed the Nation in 1976, due largely to over-reliance on crude oil sales, was a serious mistake. It made the country vulnerable to the vicissitudes of the international oil market. Accordingly, the crash of oil prices in 1978 led to severe economic depression, so that the regime was compelled to borrow from Euro-American capital market and introduce austerity measures. Austerity measures did not start today. That is the forerunner of the debt service, of the debt overhang and economic crisis that have characterized different governments, especially from 1978 to date. When General Obasanjo relinquished power to Alhaji Shehu Shagari in 1979, after the controversial elections of that year, the presidential system of government became operational based on the new constitution, cobbled together under the supervision of the military. After about 13 years of military federalism, characterized by over-concentration of power at the center, which emasculated the federating units, it was expected that the return to civilian rule will give the states more power. That did not happen, as the federal government continued to receive the lion's share of the country's revenue and maintained its stranglehold on the critical levers of power, especially revenue generation and control of the security services and law enforcement agencies. Indeed, the lopsidedness of items in the exclusive legislative list of the 1999 Constitution in favor of the federal government made Nigeria more of a unitarist state than a federation. For all intents and purposes, President Shehu Shagari was a decent gentleman, but he could not forestall the fractious party politics led by several influential politicians in his party, the National Party of Nigeria. Shagari also failed to deal effectively with the problem of social insecurity fueled by ethnic and religious conflicts, which have grown worse since Nigeria became a self-governing country. For instance, in 1981, violent Maitesine riots broke out in Kano and spread to other parts of the north. It was a puritanical Islamist movement intended, according to its founder, according to its leader, Marwa, to return the practice of Islam to its pure state. A year later, in Kano once again, Muslim fundamentalists attacked Christians for daring to build a church close to a mosque. There is general agreement by commentators who investigated the state of Nigeria's economy from 1981 to 1983 that Shagari's government did not manage it wisely. Consider this: from an average yearly growth rate of 6 to 7% from 1975 to 1980, gross domestic product declined by 8.5% in real terms between 1980 and 1983, whereas consumer prices rose by over 20%. Once again, the federal government, wedded to the oil money mentality, failed to use available resources to diversify the economy, which is the only viable means of protecting Nigeria from the vagaries of crude oil prices at the global scene. The bad situation was compounded, ladies and gentlemen, by the auger of financial rascality and penchant for embarking on white elephant projects. Of course, when the military struck again at the very end of 1983, the extremely weak state of the economy and corruption were some of the reasons it gave Nigerians to justify the coup. Major General Muhammadu Buhari took over from Shagari. At the initial stage, the summary trials and lengthy jail terms handled some prominent politicians for corruption, and the war against indiscipline, introduced ostensibly to fight it, won the admiration of Nigerians for the new military government. As time went on, however, it became obvious that the Buhari Idiagbon regime celebrated that it became obvious that supporters of the Buhari Idiagbon regime celebrated too soon, since the new military government had no genuine solutions to the problems of social insecurity, financial depressed economy, and mediocre leadership. Its authoritarian repressive approach to governance gradually began to alienate the very citizens whose interests it purported to defend. Aside from its poor human rights record, the regime erred in thinking that discipline and inculcating nationalistic feelings in the citizens without addressing their kitchen table needs would move the country forward. Buhari introduced counter-trade in an effort to deal with the situation. But like other previous ad hoc attempts at economic re-engineering, the measure made a bad situation worse by providing avenue for corruption and other sharp practices by government officials and business people. In the end, Buhari's administration had little to commend it beyond the wide-driven, why means war against indiscipline, please. Beyond the wide-driven popular sentiments. It was really, those of you that are grown up then, you can remember how popular why was. That was the only thing to really commend the administration. It was rightly condemned for its repressive mode of governing the country and belt-tightening measures presented as necessary sacrifice for rebuilding the country, but which in reality impoverished the masses. This idea of tightening your belt, make sacrifices, has always been with us. Leaders of the coup that overthrew Buhari in 1985 marshaled remarkably similar social, economic, and political arguments that those before them presented to justify their action. Moreover, coming after a draconian regime that failed to achieve tangible positive results and improve the living conditions of a majority of Nigerians. General Ibrahim Babangida, the self-styled military president, presented himself as the redeemer who was determined to correct the egregious errors of his predecessors. He abrogated the obnoxious Decree 4, which drastically curtailed freedom of expression, abolished the death penalty for hard drug offenders, and instituted a committee headed by Commodore Ebitu Ukiwe, the Chief of General Staff, to take a second look at cases of human rights violations, among others. Other keynotes of Babangida's administration, aside from its increasingly authoritarian character, include the Structural Adjustment Program, SAP, and the tediously labyrinthine Political Transition to Civil Rule Program. SAP, promoted by the federal government and its external capitalist supporters as a tool for addressing the structural imbalances in the Nigerian economy, and thereby, and by so doing, laid the foundation for sustainable economic growth, had severe deleterious effects on the lives of ordinary Nigerians. It seems that various governments like punishing us. I don't know what we did. More specifically, the so-called economic reforms led to the escalation of social vices such as the get-rich-quick syndrome, corruption, armed robbery, advance fee fraud, 419, and rampant use of hard drugs by the youths. All this deepened the problem of social insecurity nationwide. On the issue of governance, Babangida initially presented his regime as a human rights and civil society friendly alternative to the crude dictatorship of Buhari. But it was all a facade, because in a bid to consolidate his grip on the country, he appropriated more powers from the Supreme Military Council to himself as military president and mutated into a full-blown dictator. Apart from the ill-conceived shambolic sap, the greatest evil Babangida's administration visited on Nigerians is the torturous and ultimately futile political transition program that ended in a state bath with the announcement of the June 12 presidential elections that late Chief MKO Abiola, presidential flag bearer of the Social Democratic Party, was actually leading based on the results thus far released by the National Electoral Commission, NEC, before the annulment. Details of the ill-fated transition program and its unpalatable aftermath have been documented by Professor Omori and others. Suffice it to say that Babangida's transition to civil rule program and his tenure as a whole was one of the most turbulent periods in Nigerian history. For ordinary Nigerians, in terms of social and economic well-being, good governance, the period between 1985 and 1993 represents a dark age in Nigerian history. After stepping aside on August 27, 1993, Babangida, why am I calling Buhari? Babangida, maybe because of the punishment he inflicted on us. Babangida handed over to Chief Ernest Shoneko, who headed the contraption called Interim National Government. Of course, the turbulent circumstance of his creation indicated that the ING would not last. Shoneko's feeble and ineffectual attempt to manage his immediate predecessor's gift could not stop General Sani Abacha from announcing on November 17, 1993, that he had accepted the resignation of Chief Shoneko to save the country from drifting further into collapse. Abacha, a dictator like Babangida, supported by desperate, morally bankrupt politicians, was reluctant to leave power. Under him, the country was treated as a pariah state by the Western powers, led by the United States and Britain. Abacha inherited a declining, fragile economy, made worse through various acts of civil disobedience by labor unions in collaboration with civil society groups, and the result turbulence that shook the country due to the June 12th annulment. His government also suffered from crisis of legitimacy. Moreover, although he took some progressive steps, such as the panels instituted to probe corrupt departments and agencies of the state and the failed bank tribunals, I still remember that. Not even the wealthy and powerful, who from all sectors hitherto considered untouchable, were spared during Abacha's crusade against corruption. Abacha's regime had to deal with the political turmoil accentuated by the increasingly dictatorial hardline posture. By its increasingly dictatorial and hardline posture, coupled with the trust deficit and hostility from Nigerians across board as a result of the worsening economic condition all over the country. All said and done, Nigeria did not make progress in resolving issues of social security, the declining economy, and effective governance during the time Abacha was head of state, from 1993 to the middle of 1998. A hurried program of transition to democracy was inaugurated by General Salam Abubakar. I'm sure most of us would have forgotten that name, who emerged as the head of state following Abacha's demise. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was released from prison, and with the covert support of the military elite and a faction of the Northern ruling bloc, emerged as civilian president on May 23, 1999. Indeed, between 1999 and 2015, Obasanjo, Alhaji Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, and Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, you can see I'm trying to summarize here, in that order, became president under the umbrella of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Objectively considered, ladies and gentlemen, the emergence of the party in power had both positive and negative outcomes for the economy, social security, and governance. On the positive side, Nigeria obtained debt forgiveness from the Paris Club and improved in the Corruption Perception Index of Transparency International, TI, from 146 to 138. Within the same period, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, 5 minutes, really? The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offenses Commission, led by, and the amnesty program to curb militancy in the Niger Delta were established. Now, so the point remains that just like the governments before it, the PDP government actually did not resolve to the expectations of Nigerians the tripartite problems that form the topic of this colloquium. Now, since I'm being told that 5 minutes, let me now summarize the rest. But I must read my concluding remarks, because that is where we are talking about solutions. Now, of course, the PDP was upstaged by the APC in 2015 with the promise that we will deal with all the problems of the incompetent, corrupt PDP. But we are all witnesses to the fact that in the three components of this topic, APC has worsened Nigeria's situation. We are all living witnesses to the escalation in insecurity, the economic depression, the escalating inflation, and the general depreciation of the well-being of Nigerians. Please permit me to read out a few statistics so that I can give what I call information that can be verified. Now, you discover that since APC came to power, look at this. Inflation has gone to more than 34.8%, unprecedented in Nigerian history, except during Babagida's. In fact, it's 30 years when Nigeria experienced this level of inflation. Now, within this APC regime, Nigerians have paid a total of 2.23 trillion as ransom. In fact, that is between May 2023 and April 2024. In a year, we have paid 2.23 trillion as ransom. Now, look at this. An estimated 51.89 million crimes were recorded within the same period. Okay, you will notice that when APC took over power in 2015, Nigeria's debt stock was 12.6 trillion naira. As I speak to you, the debt stock has escalated to 97.3 trillion. So you may discover that as Nigerians, each of us may be owing over 1 million naira. Each of us is owing 1 million naira. So the failures of APC, we are all feeling it. This is not an issue of tribalism or religion. No. If you go to filling station now, I remember using 97,000 naira to fill my vehicle that is slightly below half tank. In Unilag, in 2014, Jonathan is incompetent, rudderless, this and that, all those adjectives. I bought rice from our cooperative society for 8,000 naira. Last year, I bought it for 110 naira. Look at the quantum of increase. And my salary is still sleeping. So I don't need to, because I really brought out the things here, but since time is constrained, Mr. MC, please, I'm still the keynote speaker, so allow me to do keynote. Let me go to the solution. Let me go to the solution, please. Because I really needed to go deep for us to understand how problematic this our country has become. Let me go to the solution. Now, see, the solution I recommended, let me get to the, sorry, let me, it's not long, it's not too long. Remember, I'm a very tall man, so everything I'm saying is tall. The quest for solution. Both humans and countries are teleological beings, meaning that a human being, whether he or she is aware of it or not, acts in a goal-directed manner. Consequently, a human being is a problem-solving animal. The same is equally true of a country. Though it is difficult to establish that autochthonous communities were intentionally formed, it is clear that the emergence of countries in modern times is not merely coincidental or fortuitous. Consider the aftermath of the scramble and partition of Africa that happened in the late 19th century, when the Europeans partitioned Africa and awarded Nigeria to Great Britain. It is unfortunate that the ruling elite in Nigeria has repeatedly failed to shake off the vestiges of colonialism in Nigeria. Chinua Achebe is probably the most prominent among those who have actually laid the problem of Nigeria squarely at the feet of the leadership. So, if you want the solution, we must look at this leadership. But then, since political leaders emerge from the citizens, a lot of people forget this. Since political leaders emerge from among the citizens, one can argue that the leadership of any country tends to reflect the dominant character traits of a significant number of its citizens. Therefore, as history has shown again and again, the emergence of transformational leadership in any geopolitical space is a contingent matter, meaning that it is impossible to predict precisely the time such a leadership will emerge. And there is no guarantee that it will emerge. Now, to the solution. I recommended that, in the first place, Nigerians must leave this attitude of saying politics is a dirty game. They will still rig the election. This docile, complacent, I don't care attitude is the reason why politicians continue to manipulate the system. Because if you have 1,000 registered voters and about 900 are in their house watching television because the election has been rigged, they will still award it to their person. What will APC and PDP and the rest do? They will add that number. Forget all this talk about card reader and what is it again? What is it, beavers or what? No. We all saw what happened last 2 years. So Nigerians must wake up. This idea of thinking that there will be a Messiah, a Redeemer, that will come to do it for you is a hallucination. Nobody will do it for you. If you want competent, responsible leadership, we must all participate, no matter how rigged, how corrupt the system is. It's because we are laid back. We are already fatalistic about the system. So Nigerians must be more proactive. Number two, Nigerians must begin to insist that they should unbundle this country. The powers of the federal government are too much. Go and look at the Constitution. The long line of what is in the exclusive legislative list tells you that Nigeria is a unitary state pretending to be a federation. You have a situation where we have a feeding bottle federation, where the federal government, a hesitant, greedy mother, is feeding the states every month. You cannot make progress with that system. Look at the First Republic and the years before it. Nigerian regions were competing with each other. Yes, the North was relatively educationally and economically underdeveloped compared to the South, but they were making progress too. I don't want to even talk about the Western region, Eastern region. Dr. Michael Okpara, and that is one of the recommendations I made. Nigerians must begin to look at role models in leadership. Dr. Michael Okpara was an outstanding leader. Chief Awolowo also did well in the Western region. But Okpara's record, if you do the research, is unbeatable. Okpara was spending 46% of the revenue of the Eastern region on education. Go and do the research. All over the Eastern region, Dr. Okpara made sure he established industries. Productivity is the key. So Nigerians must begin to look out for role models in leadership. We have them. It's just that the neglect of history in our educational system has had a corrosive effect on our memory and remembrance. So Nigerians themselves, if you are waiting for a Messiah to come and rescue us from the black hole of economic underdevelopment, social insecurity, and the rest, we will be waiting for Godot. Nobody is coming to rescue us. We must continue to do our bit. I remember before the 2023 election, I was having serious arguments with my friends. They said they won't vote. They have rigged. I said, come. You are right. But your response is wrong. Go and do your part as a citizen. So that when you are criticizing Tinubu, Buhari, Jonathan, you are on a higher moral pedestal. And then again, Nigerians, we should stop our hypocrisy. We are very good in condemning the leaders. Yes, they should be. But in your own level as an individual, what are you doing? As a lecturer, I've seen some police officers as a policeman. What are you doing? Are you showing good leadership quality? Are you a lecturer that engages in sorting? Are you a police officer that, in fact, my wife, somebody hit my car, my wife's car. They took it to the police, and the damage was serious. I don't want to detail what happened, but I was disappointed with the actions of some of the police officers. Some of them are good though, but some of them are terrible, to be honest with you. So all of us, people forget we are leaders at our own levels. In my home, I'm the leader. I must show the example, especially to my children. You know, Madam Vice Chancellor, sorry to say this, in this era of women liberation, women no longer want us to lead. No problem, we will continue to try. But my point is that in our own lives as individuals, we are leaders. What are we doing to help the country? So, ladies and gentlemen, I have actually set the pace for the continuation of this important gathering. It is now left for the paper presenters to flesh out the meat from the bones. But I can guarantee you that the discussion must continue, because nation building is a continuous process. It does not end. And it is only when the citizens are seriously and intelligently engaged in the political process that the change they want will happen. Be the change. Nobody is perfect. I'm here talking. I have my own weaknesses. But the important thing is to be aware of those weaknesses and continually work for improvement. That is what we need. We must continue to change our attitude. And if leaders are frustrating us, they are frustrating us. But we cannot give up. We should never give up. Because all these other countries we are jackpying to, we are built by human sweat and blood. Nigeria's case cannot be different. Thank you so much.
This is wonderful keynote speech. It's a lecture of no mean feat. Thank you very much for this presentation, and we will continue the reflection here. Set the notes, set the ball rolling. We want to use this opportunity as he's going to his seat to recognize some eminent personalities who are here. We have Professor Isaac Upokolo. He's a professor of philosophy from University of Ibadan. They say a moment with a prof is equal to 20 years of research. You can dispute it if you like. We also have in our midst Assistant Commissioner of Police, Varian Omololu, the Area Commander, Moniya, representing the Commissioner of Police, Oyo State Command. We are very happy to have you in our midst. Like the keynote speaker said, these are the kind of things we need to have so that we will have improved vigilance in maintaining the security in Nigeria and beyond. Yes, the ball is now ready for the syndicates, but before then, we will allow 3 remarks or comments or question. So if you want to make a comment or remark, please indicate by raising your hand. After this will be the syndicate section, meaning that we are going to break into different syndicate sessions. 3, syndicate A, B, and C. I will announce those who will be there to guide the reflection in those places. So if you would like to make comments or you want to have a question, this is the time. Indicate by raising your hand. We will take only 3. 1, 2, and so we take it together. So, Professor Shenge, we welcome you in our midst, and we would like you to make your own contribution by way of question or comment.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, sir, for your wonderful the restriction of the topic to social insecurity and not security generally. One would have thought that you talk about security generally and then social security as a part of it, but that's okay. Now, the other thing I want to observe is the way we take certain things that have been coined by the West, I mean global West, and then hosted on us, and we keep using it. And we do not know the damage that has on our psyche. For instance, they will coin a term I say Nigeria is the poverty capital. And we keep singing that song. I don't like that song personally, because its effect on us as a people is not good. Because if you go around the world, you discover that there are many, many countries that are really, really poor. So we have to know that. Now, the other thing is there's a way, there's this mutual mistrust, and it's a general thing between the North and the South. And sometimes that is not even there. And then sometimes we try to go into the archive to bring out things that throw up all this. And I feel that sometimes they are unfounded. For instance, going to the extent of saying the colonial master Lord Lugard apportioned 2/3 of land mass to the south, to the north. What evidence do we have? I don't think there is any evidence, because before this time, people existed in their various empires and they settled in these places. So did Lord Lugard drive us some people and say, let's acquire it for the other people? We got to be careful. Now, the speaker mentioned the issue of Nzogu and the 4 other measures, and in a way probably try to justify their action, or probably not. But I tell us that when I analyze Nigeria, and I say that that was the saddest thing that happened, that laid the foundation for Nigeria problem till today. We can say anything about it, but the way these things were done and handled laid a very bad foundation for violence, for hatred, for so many other things. I have just 2 more points so that others can also say. Now, leadership. From the summary that the speaker eventually made, we can say that leadership alone is not enough to transform a nation. I teach leadership. I'm a student of leadership also. But followership is very important, because even a summary that he made suggests that there are many things that we as followers have to do. In some other climb, followers have actually, knowledgeable followers have actually turned around the fortunes of the country, of their country. Then lastly is a question, sir. You talked about so many leaders here, and many did not do well. Well, by the way, I don't agree that PDP and the APC exist independently like that, with all the crisscrossing that have taken place. It's the same. They are the same, because at certain time you find people moving from PDP back to. So what is APC and what is PDP? They are all the same. But the question I want to ask is, you have talked about so many leaders and talked about the things that did not do well. By your own estimation, sir, who has done well in Nigeria as a leader? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Prof, thank you very much for your keynote speech. I just want to pick from your point in the area of inferiority complex, which I underlined when you mentioned it. And I want to look at how we have become so inferior in the area of our food, what we eat, our tradition, and culture. And when you were going on in your speech, you quickly jumped to the fact that you bought rice at this amount in this year, and 2024 you bought it at this. So why are we inferior as to what we eat? Who made rice our national food? Why can't we eat yam? Why can't we eat with cassava the way we eat rice? And rice begins to determine what we buy. And now is the measurement for food in our country. So if we are looking at inferiority complex, we are so inferior now as Nigeria, even the way we worship, in our churches, in the way we dress. How do we want to grow our economy when everything we do is westernized? Food, clothing, worship life, thinking, and orientation. No national values again. And now, again, you also identify failures, like the previous person commented. We see failures from the beginning of the keynote speech even to the conclusion. And I want to see success stories also side by side. If it is not in commensurate value to failures, but rapidly things can be outlined in the ways that we also progress as a country. Even staying together is a success because we are not the same people altogether. So for me, in the area of ransomed that was paid, which is real almost, who were those ransoms paid to, and where are they living? And why do we continue to pay those ransoms if we cannot find out where this money moves around in the economy through our banks or even their cash. So these are myriads of problems that I think we should also try to find solutions to for us to move forward. Thank you.
What? Yes, there is one.
Thank you very much. My Lord Bishop, a special greeting to you. You know why it is special. No other person knows why. I just want to say two things. And I'll go back to our traditions, the language. My people say, Onye waju, ali aju onwe. Onye waju, ali aju onwe. Literally, it means if somebody refuses you, you don't refuse yourself. Contextually, if people came and disadvantaged us, we don't sustain the disadvantage. We are sustaining the disadvantage. My second point is this. My people say, Namadun why? Manogana kosilo alinanjo. If a lin job namadan one and chach and chai. Now literally what does it mean? That you make effort to achieve something you conceptualize, you had the idea of, but that effort didn't succeed. He said it's not wrong, there's nothing bad about that. He said what is bad is that you didn't make effort at all. We are not making effort. That's my position. The last thing, I put it this way, let me not use my language. If you come into government, your duty is to improve on what you meet in government, not to make it worse. If you cannot improve on it, DY the X, get out of the place. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do I need to come there? I didn't. Okay, all right. Thank you very much for your responses. They say in my place that if you cook a pot of
Recording in
food
progress.
and nobody eats it, then your effort is in vain. If they are as a student of philosophy, a lifelong student of philosophy, if I presented a discussion that lasted more than 30 minutes and there are no critical comments, I think I need to go back, because where everybody thinks alike, especially on controversial issues, not much thinking is going on. Now, regarding the issue of the appellations of the West, and that we take, we might deprecate the West and criticize them from now till Armageddon. But don't forget, the language we speak is even their own. If I relax back to my Igbo language, many of you will not hear me. So we must take it that way, because it's like me saying, oh, the genes I inherited in my parents, I don't want. See, the Western thing is so ingrained in all of us that it will take centuries to undo. I'm not saying it's impossible. So we have to live with what we have. But the point remains that we can creatively improve upon by adding our own to what we got from the West. Those of you in biological sciences know that hybridization usually leads to the improvement of organisms. So we can mix the West and our own and go beyond the West. I remember when I went to Songhai in Benin Republic, there's this agro-industrial farm run by Professor Monsaino Nzamujo in Nigeria. He told us that, look, his own is to use biomimicry to leapfrog the West. And that is for him the fourth industrial revolution. So it's not a matter of condemning what we have gotten from the West. That is futile and impossible. It's just like saying, oh, let's speak Igbo. If I speak Igbo now, how many of us will hear? Even in terms of dressing as well, my brother, in the Aboriginal you go and look at photographs of 18-something, early 20th century and see how our people dressed. To be honest with you, you wouldn't like that. And remember, what you call West is actually an agglomeration of influences from different parts of the world. I'm a student of the history of science. I tell people that the expression Western science is misleading because some of the core components included in that expression did not emanate from Europe and our cultural colonies in North America. Some of them came from Africa, some of them came from even Arabian cultures. So all these West people think it is just European. No, it's actually a synthesis made up of thesis, antithesis. In other words, it is what you call Western science or Western anything. Does not mean that every component of it originated in the West. No, it did not. And then this idea of world capital of the world. Let me say this. If you go to some of these smaller, a country like Liechtenstein, that may have the population of a street in Lagos, is deemed as one of the richest countries in the world. It does not mean that Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk is not the richest man in the world. When the World Bank, this World Bank is not only talking, that Nigeria has become the capital, the poverty capital, it's not just as simplistic as that. There are indices that led them to make that conclusion. Compared to the resources we have, that's what they are talking about. The kind of resources and how the living standards of Nigerians are degenerate. It does not mean that if you go to India with a population of 1.4 or 5 million and China with a population of 1.43 billion, that they don't have, in fact, the number of poor people in China and India each can be more than the population of Nigeria. Yes, we know that. But Nigeria remains the poverty capital of the world, or one of the poverty capital. It's not a Western thing. The evidence is there. Compared to your population, compared to your resources, what is the standard of life of your people? And we can all agree here, unless we want to deceive ourselves, that the standards are plummeting for majority of the masses. The way people are begging, as a columnist, from 2016, people will call me on phone, because my number is on my column, to beg for money. They don't know me. They don't know whether I'm dead. They don't know whether I'm a robot or AI generated person. But they will still call. Please, let's not, try to, in the name of nationalism or Africanness, try to ignore truth. The truth of the matter is that Nigeria today, if not the world capital of poverty, is one of them. Then this idea, Lugard gave to Thought. Go and look at it. Go and read the map of Nigeria. You will look at, yes, I know that people migrated, but the map, I said the land mass. Northern region is more than 2/3. The land mass of Nigeria. It doesn't mean that Igbos, Yorubas, people are not in the north. No. But we are talking in terms of land mass. So that is the point. Then, what is the question again? I've forgotten the question. However, sorry? Okay, with see, measurement, even in science, is a very tedious business. But the way you can gauge the performance of a leader, there are some parameters to use. Take, for example, a country like Nigeria. What is the quantum of people that have been moved away from poverty? In fact, these days, we are talking about multidimensional poverty relative to those that have sunk deeper into multidimensional poverty. Another parameter, you can use the exchange rate of your local currency to measure it. You can use inflation to measure it. I can tell you this. During the First Republic, although most of us were not really born, those of us that were born might be toddlers then. But if history is any guide, based on the achievements of the regions, you can say that the leaders, despite their weaknesses, did reasonably well. Now, since the war ended, if you ask me, it's a difficult thing to say, but I will make this hazardous claim. The time of the PDP is better than the time of APC. This idea of people moving, no, but they have well-defined names. You cannot say, despite the fact that there is cross-fertilization, politicians are political prostitutes. But you cannot stand up and say, Jonathan was an APC president. Even if Jonathan moves to APC tomorrow, they have the well-defined structures, how they note their members. You cannot say that. Or you say that the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was formerly a member of National Republican Convention or any of the parties he did not belong to. You cannot. So they have, even though individuals are moving in and out, there are still identified from 2015 to 2023, if it is as fluid as my friend there said, then we cannot condemn APC. Because we can say it's a continuation of PDP because people are potting. So the truth of the matter is that some administrations have done relatively well despite identifiable weaknesses in their performances. But I can tell you that the current APC government and the one immediately before it, we all can judge for ourselves, has plunged Nigerians, more Nigerians, into unprecedented hardship. And the annoying thing about it, please, and I'll round off with this, is that you can see, like I said in my address, I make clear that Nzogu's coup laid the foundation for the ruinous, I use that word, ruinous military interventions in our politics. But let us not deceive ourselves, whether we like it or not. Every military intervention has some good reasons. People pretend. I remember when Buhari came up. I just entered the university then. People were jubilating. Jim Wobodo, 200 years in prison. Apa Aku, 180. 20 million recovered. People were clapping. War against indiscipline, sanitation, cleaning up, Q culture. People were clapping for him. Of course, Shagari's government was corrupt. 1983 election was massively rigged. So they always have good reasons. But the question is, do they leave the country better than made it? And in most cases, the answer is a capital N-O. That is the problem. If the military takes over this government today, I'm really ready to bet my whatever I have. There are people in the streets doing all one bet for it. Well, people are suffering. People are begging for food. So you cannot say we are doing democracy. People are dying in the hospitals. When I was treating myself for cancer in 2022, I saw people, they were almost like skeletons. They didn't have money. They were to be brought to the hospital when it was virtually late. I'm bearing my own cross. But when I see their cases, I go to them, I console them, I tell them to be hopeful that they will be better. So the issue is this. Nigerians must stop this idea of thinking, number one, that everything from the West is not good. No. We can actually adapt and adopt and improve on the West. Secondly, we must not always take criticism as something negative. As a matter of fact, as a student of philosophy, criticism is the oxygen of my discipline. When Nigeria is poverty capital of the world, if I'm the president, I say, okay, I'm going to show you. In the next 4 years, we will leave that terrible group and work towards it. Criticism should be a motivation to do better, to improve. This idea of looking at criticism, maybe it's my townsman in power, or maybe it's it's wrong. It's part of what is dealing with us. We must look at truth itself and say it as it is. I may not be a religious person, but the Bible says something that is fundamental. The truth shall set you free. Take it anyhow. The truth, you see, when you say the truth, you sleep. But when you lie, you will be thinking of other lies to cover the lie. And then you become a chronic liar. This government is telling us, sorry that I'm speaking passionately, it's affecting me. And people that I love, people that I care. They say, Anele, bear the sacrifice. With your poor salary, go and buy fuel at 1,000. Fuel has increased again. The time it dropped a little bit, people were clapping, oh, government is working. It has gone back. People say, oh, Anele, bear the person telling me to bear the sacrifice. Is he bearing the sacrifice? Is his family bearing the sacrifice? So we must continue to insist on telling truth to those in authority. They don't have to like it. Thank you very much.
Can we put our hands together? We have the session set for the syndicates. With this, we are moving to the next phase of the discourse. And we are happy to announce to you that we are going to do hybridization, as he suggested, so that we'll get the best out of this colloquium. There will be online and offline as the presenters present themselves for discourse. So we have in our midst Professor Remi Ayede. He is one of the lead paper presenters. He's going to lead in one of the syndicate sessions. We also have Dr. Ifeanyi Onwuka, Department of Finance, University of Ibadan. Professor Remi Ayede is from Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan. For us to note, Professor Chiedozie Okoro, Department of Philosophy, University of Lagos, will also be the syndicate's lead. So, before we move to that section, I will give us the list of persons so that we know our own syndicate's place, so that we'll be able to participate from that group. But I will ask that before we move into the session, we will call those in the responsibility table and some of the dignitaries to take pictures together before we go. And the session will continue from there, and we come back for the closing ceremony. So for the first syndicate, Syndicate Group A, if we have the paper, we're on page 2. The lead paper presenter is Professor Chiedozie Okoro, Department of Philosophy, University of Lagos. Other presenters in that syndicate, which will be in this location, Tom and Caroline Walker Hall, is Father Paulinus Onyenuru, OP, University of Glasgow, Scotland. Father Dr. Felix Kingsley Obialo, Dominican University. Mary Cordelia Chinyelu Okoye Eze, presenting. Dominican. Reverend Father Stan Ukwe is the moderator for that syndicate group. Marvelous Mary Ogunobo Oluwa Fumibi Akinleye is also in that group. For the syndicate group B, we have Professor Remi Ayede from Department of Philosophy, Political Science, University of Ibadan. He's the lead paper presenter. In that group, we have Father Dr. Michael Akbongiran from Wales, Father Francis Chiadi, Dr. Emmanuel Akubo, Department of History, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Samuel Chukwukwado Mba, and Emmanuel Adebiyi, Innocent Michael Atama. Mr. Piniel Momo is the moderator for that syndicate group. Your location is Hall 1, the first room here. For the third Syndicate Group C, the lead paper presenter is Dr. Ifeanyi Onwuka, Department of Finance, University of Ibadan. Other presenters, Dr. Ezekiel Ojo, Dominican University, Prince Awele Peter Odo, Father Philip Onyinye Ebusie, Sister Mary Christine Ugobi, the Dominican University, Mary Catherine Uchenna Ugwani, Stanley Ugochukwu Ekwosimba, Dr. Moses Ani is the moderator for that session. We hope to begin immediately and conclude the syndicate session by 1, so that we'll come back here for the formal presentation of the last colloquium publication, so that as you are leaving, you are having a copy of the banquets of the last colloquium. Thank you very much. May I now invite our dignitaries to step forward for the group photograph. All the lead in the syndicate session, please, you can join the photograph. Assistant Commissioner of Police, you can join the photograph. We also invite the deans of faculties here present. Step forward. Please, the heads of departments that are here present, Dominican University, please step forward for a group photograph. We have Department of Philosophy and Religious Studies, Sister Mary Christine Gobi. You remain while the others will join. Heads of departments here present, please, and the Dean of Faculty of Science. You can go behind. You can climb so that they will see your face. Yes. So please, we can now move into the syndicate session so that we can go into the discussion. This is the cover page. We are going to open the book now. Thank you very much.
Hello?
Somebody brought on the screen. We are connected now. I think you can connect.
I've connected, but like I told you, the thing is not accepting my camera.
As a method of procedure, we'll be having a lead presentation in our syndicate group A. We have 8 presenters, namely the lead presentation by Professor Chiedozie Okoro of the Department of Philosophy, University of Lagos. So we'll give him 20 minutes, after which we'll have 5 to 10 minutes of question and answer session. And then after that, we'll have other presenters. And we have about 7 presenters in the group. And each presenter is giving 10 minutes, after which we'll have about 5 minutes of question and answer. And then at the end, we'll round up. So without much ado, if Professor Chiedozie is online, so we'll read, you permit me to read his citation, and then we'll invite him online. So are we ready? Is it online with us?
Yeah, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Prof.
Yeah, I'm online.
It's my great pleasure to read the citation of Professor Chiedozie Benjamin Okoro. He is a professor of philosophy, Faculty of Arts, University of Lagos. He became full professor in 2016. He obtained his PhD from the University of Lagos in 2002. He is the current head of philosophy. He is also the current chairman of Board of Trustees, Faculty of Arts Alumni Association. He was the sub-dean of arts from 2011 to 2013. He is a member of the Philosophical Association of Nigeria, PAN. He's a member, Nigeria Academy of Letters. He's also a member, International Federation of Philosophical Societies. His current area of research is on integrative metaphysics and phenomenology of life force. This is a system of knowledge and methodology derived from African cultural hermeneutics, constructing, deconstructing, and reconstructing issues of leadership, security, economy, policy, ideology, nation building, and African knowledge system on environmental sustainability. Professor Chiedozie Benjamin Okoro has successfully supervised 8 PhDs. It is my great pleasure to welcome Professor Chiedozie Benjamin Okoro. Can we put our hands together for him, please? So, Professor, kindly take the floor and proceed.
Yeah, I'm here and I say hello to everybody. Incidentally, first time using Google Meet, so I'm having problems sharing my, I don't know if you can see my PowerPoint. Can you see that? Hello?
Can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
But it's not rolling. That's the problem I have. It's not rolling. The slide's supposed to be rolling.
We can see the PowerPoints and we can see you clearly.
But I can't roll it. That's the problem I have. But let me see. Just stop
So you have to
sharing
do it
and-
from your own side.
Okay. Maybe I should read from my own side. But
Yes,
when I read
please
from
do
my
it
own-
from your own side.
Okay, but if I read from my own side, you will hardly see me. So should I do that?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, so let me go ahead and read from my own side. All right, so my title is Virtue, the Transcending Path to Holistic Nation Building. Why did I choose this topic? I chose that topic because coming from the background of what I call ontology, we consider everything that happened in the human society on human nature. And so what kind of being is the human being? Because when we use the term, generally the term human being, we mean male and female. What kind of being are we that make us different from other beings? Well, if you go to whether culture, religion, philosophy, all of them agree on one thing, that there is something about us that make us to represent the highest kinds of entities here on earth. Why? Because we are capable of idealizing, we are capable of imagining, we are capable of understanding, we are capable of feeling and perceiving. Now, we are capable of synthesizing all of these functions of the human mind. So that means that the human being should not function like every other entity on earth. And that means we are the only ones that can be moral. Other entities are not moral or immoral. We are the only ones that can be moral or immoral. And other entities are simply amoral. And when we use the word amoral, we mean that those other entities are outside the bounds of reason. Now, what is the function of reason? Well, if you read scriptures, I've tried to go to scriptures, and I think I got to Proverbs chapter 8, and there the whole of Proverbs chapter 8 is talking about God as wisdom. God, some versions of Bible will talk about God as wisdom. Some will say God is reason. Some will say God is thought. Now, and if you go to the Quran, God is also likened with wisdom, thought. Same thing with African traditional religions. God is likened to thought, wisdom, in fact, wisdom in itself, thought in itself, reason in itself, meaning that human reason, human thought, human wisdom is an extension of God's wisdom. For the likes of Hegel, he acknowledges that, and even Aristotle, when we talk about your mover, and we are extensions of the mover, Plato too, and Hegel talks about the absolute, and we are extensions of the absolute. And the likes of Kant, even though he premises everything on human reason, but he said the two things that always caught his wonder were the starry sky above and the moral law within. Now, what is the connection between the starry sky above and the moral law within? Rules. The universe, like my father used to tell me, is governed by rules. And these rules are principles that govern the universe. And in that the human being is governed by rules. So if we are products of reason, and we ourselves means we are transcendent being. What does it mean to be a transcendent being? It means a being that has the ability to go beyond every stage that it is. It has the bundle of possibilities to galvanize all its potentialities and alter its situation for good or for bad. So we have this power. Now, if we have this power, what is the essence of this power? The essence of this power is not for us to adore it, to worship it, to cajole it. It's for us to use it for our own good. However, like it is in our different cultures, if you come within the Igbo culture, for instance, when you refer to a person as Madu, what does it mean to be Madu? To be Madu means the beauty of life. Madi, the beauty that is. What is this beauty? It is the beauty of character, virtue. That is the thing that distinguishes us from every other entity. And religion will use the word righteousness. Philosophy will use the word virtue. When we use the word virtue, we use the word righteousness. They mean one and the same. And so what is that ability, that thing that will enable us to ignite and actualize our transcendences? It is virtue, good character. And that is why Kant said, if we, by our nature, are rational, and we can develop rules and principles of conduct that will guide and guard every of our activity, and we have defined our goal, hence we have defined our goal, and we have convinced that these goals and principles and rules will take us from point A to point B, or point A to point Z in our developmental blueprint, following the policies and every other thing we have marshaled out. So we are duty bound to obey these procedures, and we should not deviate from them. Then the utilitarians, Aristotle, the Dominians, and then Epicurus of hedonism said it's consequentialism. And then Fletcher came and put in the middle and said situationism. Well, I say all of these are anchored on one thing, virtue. And so for me, Kant's ethics is proactive, that we should define our goals and follow the principles by which we get to our goals dynamically, flexibly. If we are to ask Fletcher's situation, say, by evaluating circumstances minute by minute. So we shouldn't be rigid about our principles, even when we are dutiful. Then I regard ethical consequentialism on this instance evaluative, because even when we have projected and we are moving towards our goal, we must always evaluate. So for me, I do not see any discrepancies merging the three theories. We can use them to our advantage, and that's what I have done in this writer. And so that as we project, as we are being proactive, every action we take, we have to evaluate them at the end based on the circumstances. So we evaluate our actions, whether we are addressing the circumstances. And so by that so doing, I now try to look, what is that thing in us? Because I'm coming from the point of ontology. What is that thing in us that makes us to follow the path of goodness and then become people or beings of good character? Human conscience. Now, what is the whole essence of human conscience? Is virtue. And what is the whole, how do we attain virtue? Self-reflexivity, self-examination. And then I go ahead to show that virtue or righteousness enhances practical wisdom for the effective and benevolent governance of the polity. That's exactly what I've done here. So I take them one by one. Virtue, righteousness as a light that exalts a nation to splendor and stardom. Every one of us agree, whether from scripture, whether from culture, whether from philosophy, that without virtue, we will not attain our design goals. And so the scriptures, religion, culture, philosophy, even science all agree that righteousness exalts a human being in the same way that righteousness exalts a nation. And then that means for security to be, for economy to be, politics must be very well grounded. Politics must be profound. And so for me, the question now is based on rule of conscience. What is politics? Politics for me is the quest for the ideal state. And this makes ethics to be the quest for the ideal human beings. And that is why here I define ethics as, I say ethics may be defined as a quest for the ideal kind of human beings that will build the ideal kind of polity, accomplished through the rigorous analysis and application of the principles of morals. And aimed at the optimal and progressive transformation of human nature, society, and the environment towards the common good. This is the goal of ethics, and this is why if you look at all societies, either from religious point of view, cultural point of view, from philosophic point of view, ethics and politics must always go hand in hand. If you like, you may put politics before ethics, like Fichte did, or like all other philosophers did, you put ethics before politics. But the truth of the matter is that if a nation is to move on the path of virtue by activating the conscience in every human being, ethics and politics must move hand in hand. If that does not happen, then we are going to have vicious human beings. Now again, there is another dimension to the issue of viciousness. Philosophers like Machiavelli and Friedrich Nietzsche, they propound that we can use ruthlessness or irrationalism to attain the end of an ideal state. How? They both advocate that ruthlessness, viciousness, wisely used by the virtuoso, can be used to overthrow unpopular despotic government. We have seen this happen in a place like Burkina Faso in Africa. We see that the man there is a military leader, but he is following principles of governance that will endow the people. He's leading by example. That's what it means to be a virtuoso. Like Alexander Pope, the English poet, said, of funds of government, let fools contend. What is best administered is best. So for Traore, you see that instead of buying SUV cars, he's spending it on tractors, he's spending it on those things that will endow the people, feed the people, address the problem of the people, make sure that pariah nations that are exploiting them are expelled. Now, that is what it means to use politics guided by principles of ethics to attain the ideal state. And that is exactly why we talk about transcendence, because we can alter our situation. And so if you look at it, all religions agree that without good character, there is no human being, there is no community, and there will be no society. There will be no development, sustainable development. So good character is the hub of African communalism. Good character is, through Christ, is the way to heaven in Christianity. If you go to Aquinas, you see that good character formed the end and beginning of both his theoretical reason and practical reason. Same for Kant. All right, so good character is in accordance with tenets of the Quran and the Hadith. Is the basis of paradise in Islam. If you go to Islam, the concept of Ummah, the ideal Muslim state, is anchored on good character. Good character is the basis of liberation from perpetual rebellion in Hinduism and Buddhism. Good character is the basis of Chinese and Japanese culture and their political systems. Good character is the hub of all systems of social political philosophy in Western philosophy. So if you trace it, whether you go to, I try to trace the tenets or features of good character in Hinduism, in Buddhism, in Islam, in Christianity, and in culture. Then I try to trace it in philosophy. Then at the end of the day, since we're Africans, what do we have to say about good character in Africa? Well, Africa is diverse, and as diverse as we are, so I decided to approach it from my own culture, the Igbo culture. And so I try to look at those things we call the essence of good character. And the whole essence is based that you must have self-esteem, you must extol transparency, dedication, rectitude, ambition, perseverance, resilience, self-control, hard work, bravery, cooperation, solidarity, and selflessness. Without all of these, the Igbo consider that you are not a good human being. And so I look at all these and I move on and say, how do we attain the essence of this good character? If we look at how we attain the essence of good character, it is through self-probe. Now, this self-probe is what in phenomenology ontology is called self-reflexivity. Now, self-reflexivity simply means self-examination. And self-examination is the anchor of Igbo ethics. And self-examination in Igbo ethics is known as as a Ikpeobi. Ikpeobi means the ability for me to examine myself, so that I examine my actions, how it will affect me, my family, and my community. If my action will affect the community and my family in the negative dimension, I will desist from doing so. But if my action will enable my family and the society as a whole and bring about an ideal accomplishment of the common good, then I embark on it. Here we see a Kant categorical imperative of talking about once you have evaluated the whole your whole vision and mission based on the principles of ethics and morals, and it will benefit not just you, but the totality of the community. Proceed about it. But how do we proceed about it? You can use the medium of democracy, monarchy, and all forms of government. But whichever way we have approved, society has approved that we should attain the ideal state is ideal for them. And so I do not want to argue about that. Then we see that this issue of good conscience, all right, of a good conscience, which we call Nkuruobi or Nkurunkobi, is actualized or activated through the process of Ikpeobi. Now, this Ikpeobi, if you go to Christianity in the Beatitudes, you see righteousness well extolled there and also the Bible, but in the Beatitudes, for me, it forms the anchor of good character and self-examination in Christianity. Then if you go to Matthew 7:3-5, Corinthians 13:5, it emphasizes self-examination as the basis for human interaction and repentance. Then if you go to Quran 21:47-9:18, it's admonished that we should examine ourselves before others examine us. We should weigh ourselves before others weigh us. So all said and done, the thing there is that don't exalt yourself so that you will not be humbled. Humble yourself so that you'll be exalted. That is the essence of good character. So humility is part of it. Now, like I said, it is through self-examination we attain this. So for the Igbo, whether it's for the Igbo, or it's for the Christian, or for the Muslim, or for political philosophy, you see that conscience based on self-examination is the way to virtue, meaning there's no escape for us. We cannot begin to say that culture is bad, Christianity is bad, Islam is bad, that one is bad. It behoves on us to look at the uniting point, because the whole essence is what it means to be a human being. And what it means to be a human being, like you have seen now, religion, culture, philosophy, all have agreed what it means to be a human being. So why are we quarreling? Instead of all quarreling on the dimensions of religion and culture, let us look at what makes a human being and build our nation, because our nation is a plural society or pluralistic society, multi-religious, multicultural, and so on and so forth. But if we look at what it means to be a human being, we focus on that, and then we begin to train and drive ourselves towards that dimension through education. So what is the whole essence of all these, of analysis? The whole essence of all these analyses is that virtue or righteousness enhances practical wisdom for effective and benevolent governance. Now, so if you go back to Aristotle, Aristotle says that he compares practical wisdom, he calls it phronesis, and he makes it part of what he calls intellectual wisdom or intellectual virtue, which consists of philosophical insights and understanding in the management of human affairs. Now, in all of these, conscience is involved, good conscience is involved, self-examination is involved, in tandem with your own personal needs and the needs of the entire society. Remember when Limpo Yu said that whatever was going to affect society in the negative, that he considers his own personal ambition of his own home on how to live his personal life. If it will not help the Singapore, he desists from it. He will not embark on it. So for every leader, and beginning with parents at home, who practice self-denial, self-penance for their children to grow higher than them, you see that that family moves in leaps and bounds. That's transcendence. But for every family where the parents focus on selfishness, self-preservation, to the detriment of their children, we discover that it's just a question of 2 decades or 3 decades at most, you feel that the family has receded. So, if we are transcendent beings, how do we achieve this transcendence? It is through practical wisdom, which is the ebullience of good character, conscience, self-examination of myself in tandem with the totality of society. And so Aristotle gave instances to say that practical wisdom is in stimulating the particular with the general, so that you can evaluate yourself in the light of the entire community before you embark on your action. I don't think there's any religion that preaches against this. I don't think our culture is against this. I don't think that philosophy, political philosophy is against this. So for Aristotle, practical wisdom is the versatile, dynamic, flexible, pragmatic, and sense of utility way of directing one personal goals with the entirety of a societal structure for the attainment of the common good. That is the essence. So thus, he says, again, the product of happiness is brought to a completion by virtue of person having wisdom and excellence of character. For excellence makes the goal correct, while wisdom makes what leads to it correct. Then Aquinas, what is practical wisdom for Aquinas? Practical wisdom for Aquinas is when you merge faith, reason. For faith, you combine faith, reason, and passion towards the attainment of the common good. Now, so if you give and take, practical wisdom is about exemplary, visionary, conscientious, responsible, responsive, and pragmatic leadership or governance. All right? And so we look at practical wisdom entails a robust synergy and reciprocity between leadership, governance, and the ultimate purpose for which society was established. Plato boldly makes the statement that the ultimate reason for which society was established is for economic prosperity. For economy to thrive, there must be effective and efficient security system to ensure peace and stability. Because without peace and stability, there will be no economic activity and there will be no economic growth. So we will not be able to actualize our transcendence. So Sun Tzu agrees with Plato that the state economy is inseparable from state security, because whether the state will survive or perish is dependent on its safety, security. So the security architecture of the state must be as comprehensive as the state is. All right, so Plato and Sun Tzu agree that effective and comprehensive security architecture for economic prosperity must be led by visionary, versatile, pragmatic, responsible, and responsive leadership based on the principles of justice, fairness, equity, and equity. These two philosophers agree on that. And if you search through the whole of political philosophy, it's the same thing we are arguing in different ways. And every culture agree on that. And so to begin to drive my point home, he says, it is very obvious from the foregoing that the way out of the social insecurity and economic depression in any polity, our own especially, is to enthrone men and women with personal character for self-management. Self-management is a persevering and enduring attitude to always re-examine self in tandem with the existing circumstance with the committed intent to adjust and readjust self to the temperament, rules, and policies that would comprehensively ameliorate anomalous conditions. Self-management discourages waste. One of the essential problems we have today in Nigeria is waste. It's quandamenism. It has been the problem of Africa from the time of Mansa Musa the Great and Askia the Great. Both of them traveled abroad to waste, and then that's when the other races discovered that Africa is a land of gold, and so the civilization should be sacked and plundered. Since then till now, Africa has been under invasion, and even up till today, you discover that that's what our leaders are entangled in. So much so that in the recent inauguration of Trump, he failed to invite any of African leader. When asked, he said after 50 years of independence, and you cannot transform your society for the better, why are you a leader? It means you are not human beings. So the question of what it means to be a human being must be well defined in tandem with the question of security and economy in the state. For I have not seen any set of place where people are going through economic depression, they still hold on the old attitude of waste, of eating from the 2 sides or 3 sides of the mouth, of not practicing self-denial.
Sorry, Prof, for the brief interruption. So you have 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes.
I'm running off the next 1 minute because I'm just reading the 2 last sentences. Okay, thank you. So you see, we have to, self-management discourages, because don't forget that the whole essence of self-management is virtue. And when we look at virtue, what are those things? Humility, prudence, frugality, temperance, courage, and so on and so forth. Those things that enable you to know that you are not the only one in the world. Even when you are rich, your wealth means nothing when you have impoverished people around you. You must use your wealth to endow people. There are various theories on how that should be done. So self-management discourages waste, nonchalance, vainglory, slovenliness, and all lackadaisical attitudes that discourage sense of duty. So for me, indeed, it is reliable, self-management is the reliable and resilient temperament to dealing with life's recurrent problems. Without self-management, it will be impossible for us to manifest our transcendence of revamping our state today of insecurity and economic depression. This is not a curse. It is not magic. It is simply that we have to follow.
Is that a freeze? Okay, shall we give Prof? Prof is already in his closing remarks, so shall we give him a round of applause? Yeah, the topic, the title of Prof's presentation is Virtue, Transcending Path to Nation Building. You cannot agree with me that Prof has done justice to that topic. He has told us that virtue and reason are endowments from the Creator, and virtue and reason make us different from the lower animals. But we need those virtue. We need virtue and we need reason for nation building. Without much ado, we'll have the floor open for questions and answers. So we'll give Prof between 7 to 10 minutes. So if we have any questions, let's be ready to ask them. Do we have Prof back online? So while we're waiting to be connected back to Prof, do we have any questions or clarifications or additions to his presentation? Okay. In the absence of none, we would like to, okay. IT, is it back? Yeah. Perhaps we can continue, and if later we're able to connect with him, maybe he can take a few minutes to make the closing remarks while we continue. So in the meantime, we have 7 other presentations from the syndicate group A. And I see some of us are ready. I see Father Paulinus and Obilo a few minutes ago. Any other presenters in the group besides these two? Okay, Father Obilo is here. And you are, what's your name, please? Oh, Marvelous. Okay, if you don't mind, since we don't have all the presenters around, can we start with those who are here in the order? Who is online? Okay, is Oluwafumi ready? Can you connect us with Oluwafumi if she's ready? Okay. I think it's, somebody whispered to me that it's better to take presentations from those online. I think it's better. And then after that, we can handle those who are on site. What was the name? What's the name? No, Cora's finished.
Good afternoon.
Next.
Sorry, we can hear you. Just go on. You need to put on your video.
Okay, sorry, I'm having issues with that. 1 second, please. Sorry. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay.
Please just introduce your name and then start. 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Okay. My name is Oluwafumi Elizabeth Akinleye, and I'm graduated from the prestigious University of Ibadan. And I'm so honored to present my paper titled A Critical Analysis of Gender Stereotypes and Sexism in Aristotelian and Thomistic Philosophies at this year's Aquinas Day Colloquium. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'd have loved to be there physically, but due to logistics, I'm quite a distance away from Ibadan. So I'll talk about the origin and importance of this topic. So this topic builds on the research that I conducted for my undergraduate thesis, where I explored the historical and philosophical roots of gender stereotypes. And also, the importance of this topic is to revisit the ideas of Aristotle and St. Thomas Aquinas and its relevance today, and how their foundational perspectives continue to shape debates around gender roles, both consciously and unconsciously, in our society, religion, and within the cultural context. Moving on to my next slide. So sorry. Okay, so I'll be talking about sexism and gender stereotypes. So the history of sexism and gender stereotypes. So sexism and gender stereotypes have historical roots in laws, traditions, cultural beliefs, and patriarchal policies, and these have limited women's rights and opportunities. They are often shaped by influential philosophical and theological ideas. So my paper focuses on the perspectives of Aristotle and Aquinas on women, while analyzing how their views shaped gender norms in their times and how these ideas continue to influence modern discussions on gender equality. So I'll be talking about Aristotle's views on women in the next slide. Aristotle believed that women were inherently inferior to men, biologically and rationally. He believes that women are weaker vessels and they're less capable of rational thoughts. Like That is, they can't think on their own. They have to depend on man for reasoning. And within the context of ancient Greece, where he's from, it's a society that is so steeped in hierarchy. So his philosophy justified the subordination of women as part of the natural order. This perspective perpetuated a very rigid understanding of gender roles that defined women's value solely in terms of their reproductive and domestic functions. I'll be moving on to my fourth slide, which talks about Aquinas' view on women. So St. Thomas Aquinas acknowledges women's worth, but he maintains male authority. He was also influenced by the Aristotelian thought. He provided a more nuanced view. So he acknowledged that women's intellect and spiritual worth within Christian theology, but he still maintains that women were subordinate, and that means they should still be under the authority of men. So due to this subordination, it was framed as a natural and theological necessity for societal harmony as well as familial harmony. So he reinforced traditional gender roles. He said women should be seen as caregivers, as nurturers, as homemakers, and helpers, and so on. While men's gender role revolves around characteristics such as dominance, assertiveness, and strength. Moving on to the comparison and impact slide. So Aristotle, he viewed women as being biologically inferior, while Aquinas frames it within the theological reasoning. And he acknowledged that women are smart. But despite the differences between these two philosophers, both their perspectives reinforced a hierarchical structure that justified male dominance and shaped societal norms for centuries, leaving a long-lasting legacy in gender dynamics. So the contemporary implications of their views. The influence of these historical perspectives persists today in modern gender stereotypes and sexism. And these two great philosophers' ideas continue to shape debates that are around gender roles, often reinforcing inequality. By critically revisiting these perspectives of these philosophers, it is essential.
Please permit the interruption. So you have 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes.
I'm running up. Challenging the established and entrenched that will foster progress towards true gender equality. The of the perspectives can be seen today about women's roles in leadership within religious institutions, where theological arguments often mirror St. Aquinas' reasoning. Similarly, the stereotypes of women are naturally less suited for STEM fields. For example, we have men dominating more STEM fields such as the tech space, engineering space, and so on. So in conclusion, analyzing the views of wonderful philosophers provides valuable insights into the historical roots of gender inequalities. And by understanding the influence of these philosophers, we can better challenge and reshape contemporary gender norms. Thank you so much for your attention, and I welcome any questions or comments. Thank you. Sorry about my slide notes.
We would like to thank Oluwafumi B. Akinleye for that beautiful presentation. Although there were lots of noises, internal and external, but we thank her for doing justice to that topic. We don't have much time for questions and answers because we still have about 6 presentations as a follow-up. So if you don't mind, we'll go quickly to those who are present on site. So we're going to give every presenter on site 5 minutes. Just quick summary.
Predict
Quick summary.
that the 21st century is going to be the end.
It's lovely to be here to present this paper titled the State of the Nigerian Healthcare Sector, Challenges and Pathways to Progress. I chose this topic because when you look at the when you look at the state of the nation, it's replicated in the various sectors, be it the agro sector, the banking sector, the educational sector, and the health sector, or other sectors. Because my specialty is in the health sector, I decided to take it from there. And I'm proposing a leadership and followership framework which is based on restructuring of the mind. Because we do not have time, I will try to race through the paper. There is a common saying that health is wealth. There is no disputing that fact. When we consider that the greatest resources of a nation are not necessarily in its tangible natural resources, but in its human resources. The productive economies and robust social systems do not emerge by chance. They are thought out, built, and maintained by humans. And only when these humans enjoy good health and access to quality health care can they effectively contribute to economic activities, drive national growth, and sustainable development. Nigeria is the most populous black nation in Africa, faces significant obstacles in achieving these goals. The Sustainable Development Report of 2024 positions Nigeria at 146 out of 166 countries with an SDG index score of 54.56, highlighting substantial challenges across multiple goals. Particularly, Nigeria struggles with poverty and hunger. There was a debate earlier about the Nigeria being referred to as the poverty capital of the world. A lot of people do not want to accept it, but we are quick to accept the report that Nigeria was growing at a tremendous rate. It's important to accept these realities because they are based not on sentiments but on data, some of which I will present here. The socio-economic realities is paradoxical given that Nigeria's status as Africa's largest oil producer and that Nigeria holds the world's 10th largest oil reserve. This phenomenon is often referred to as resource curse, and it aptly illustrates how abundant natural resources can ironically impede a nation's economic and social progress. The mismanagement of oil revenues, widespread corruption, and lack of transparency and accountability have greatly increased our socio-economic inequalities. What is the state of the Nigerian healthcare sector? Nigeria's healthcare sector is a shared responsibility among the federal, state, and local governments. According to statistics, we have about 39,914 healthcare facilities, both federal, state, local as well as private. The figure shows that the hospital to population ratio is 1.8, which is higher than many developed nations. For instance, in South Korea, it is one hospital to 12 persons, but in Nigeria is 1 hospital to 8 persons, meaning that we are in a better state. But sadly, only 10% of our public institutions reach the acceptable healthcare index. So even though we have more hospitals, we have less, we can boast less of a healthcare system. The key health indicators further illustrate illuminates the precarious state of our healthcare system. According to the World Health Organization, life expectancy at birth in Nigeria is 63.4 years, slightly below the African average of 66 point. Okay, we have 3 minutes more to go. So there are so many things that lead to this current situation. One of it is corruption. Money comes in, money allocated, but money does not get to the healthcare sector. The system does not get it, and even when the system gets it, there is also widespread corruption within the system. There is also the case of doctors and medical personnel leaving the shores of this country and burdening the medical personnel that are left behind. Now, what is the way forward? Addressing the systemic challenges within Nigeria's healthcare sector calls for a multifaceted approach that extends beyond simply increasing financial allocation. What I'm saying is increasing financial allocation is good, but it is not the only approach. While adequate funding is undoubtedly crucial, merely injecting more resources into a system plagued by corruption, inefficiencies, and lack of cohesive vision will not yield the desired result. And so I'm proposing 3 things. 1, cultivating a national consciousness and collective responsibility. While structural changes are essential for national growth and development, they will be ineffective without a corresponding transformation in the attitude and behaviors of individuals at every level. And so I'm proposing the Ubuntu philosophy of I am because we are. If I hold that position as a medical personnel, as a politician, that I am because we are, then every of my decision will be geared towards the common good. The second part is the inestimable value of life. We do not somewhat have value for life, and that's why there's widespread violence, widespread kidnapping, and widespread killing. And that is also the reason why the poverty level is so high, yet the government seems not to be worried about it. So if we all adopt a value for life, then the transformation will begin in earnest. And the third approach is adopting a public health approach to policy making. And I just give a few examples. For instance, as a politician or as a road, if you are given a road to construct, construction of road in Nigeria has become a thing for politics. So they have to award this contract over and over again in order for them to get into office. But when roads are constructed for the good of the individual, for the health of every common citizen, of the common man, then these policies will be effective because they are done and they are pushed forward for the common man. And so, in conclusion, Nigeria's healthcare system it's an eye-opener to the problem of the nation as a whole. But if we adopt these this framework of both leadership, it's a framework for both the leaders as well as the followers of a public health approach to policy making, and Ubuntu consciousness of I am because we are, as well as respect and prioritization of human life, then we can move our country forward. Thank you.
Beautiful. As we put our hands together for Father Paulinus, kindly announce again the theme, the title of your presentation.
The title of my presentation is The State of the Nigerian Healthcare Sector, Challenges and Pathways to Progress.
Thank you very much. Let's put our hands together for him again. So you all will agree with me that I have done justice to that title. One takeaway that I got is on leadership based on restoring of the mind. I am because we are. In other words, if we try to bring in the golden rule into our health sector, it will go a long way. So we build roads for the common good. We preserve life for the common good because it is the right thing to do, to preserve life. to enhance life. So thank you very much, Father Paulinus. May I have the pleasure to invite Father Obilo, who's also present. So Father will take 5 minutes to give us summaries. Yes, please. PowerPoint presentation for Father, please. IT, are we ready?
There's one here. Where is it? Sorry, I'm having some issues with my laptop. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm going to talk about creative followership for the depressed Nigerian state. Next slide. Next slide, please. It's the practice to solve problems from the leadership perspective. It's a very common approach globally. Nigeria is not an exception. But this approach, this paper is presenting a very unusual approach. Let us reverse the situation. Let us flip and then look to the followers to source for solution to our depressed socioeconomic situation. We want to first examine the character of the contemporary distressed Nigerian society. The first is that the Nigerian society is a society that leaders have failed
to translate the abundant resources into impactful benefits for the masses. The other one is that we have huge employment problem. We have inflation. Don't mind what the government bandies around, telling you that the economy has grown, like the last speaker mentioned. There is insecurity. We thank you for being here. There's generally failed infrastructure in the country. There's corruption, of course, poverty. We can't overflow the issue that Nigeria is now a poverty capital of the world. Essentially, all sub-Saharan countries like Nigeria, they performed the least in the Global Human Capital Index, World Economic Forum 2017, and the situation has not changed. Next slide, please. So what is this work offering? The work is saying, let us look for alternative. Alternative in the sense that if what we have been using has not been working, it only makes sense for us to look elsewhere. And that is why we are saying, let us turn to the followers for the solution to our depressed circumstances. Please go back to the last slide. So the next thing is to ask what creativity is. Creativity is essentially the production of something that is new, that has value, something that is practically able to solve your problem. And there are a lot of definitions about creativity depending on the approach, the perspective in which you are coming from or addressing the phenomenon called creativity. So I will cite two people. The first is Dawson and two authors, group of authors. The first is Dawson and Andropoulos. He says creativity is the process through which new and useful ideas are generated. And so Obialo 2024 says creativity is humanity's response to the exigencies of life. Nigerian followers must become creative because leaders have failed the populace. And this is because effective followers are often undervalued. So we need to take them more seriously, but they play a pivotal role in organizations that require new ways of doing things. Business as usual is not tolerated in order to solve our situation, to provide solutions for what is happening to us in the country. We need to change the business. So breakthrough innovations require an infusion of creativity into the thoughts and behaviors of all organization members and by extension citizens of our nation. We need to be deliberate about this, teach them creativity, let them learn the skills of creativity and innovation if we really want to move ahead, because we've been using old styles, the same thing all over and all over again, and nothing has been happening. So this paper is saying let us have a paradigm shift. Let us go forward by first looking for paradigm shift. We need to work on our mentality. Let us stop believing that leaders will solve our problem. Therefore, we need to begin to train people, train followers, especially train them in creativity. And we have authors who have actually worked on the fact that creativity works. Nothouse is one of the big authors in leadership. Jenkins and Spranger 2020 did the same thing. For Lauren 2023, Obialo 2024. These are people who have worked on the role of creativity in leadership. So we need to learn how to promote creative self-efficacy in the citizenry. Let them know that they are able to also do well in this particular area, in the area of using creativity to solve societal problems. The follower who combines high levels of active engagement and independent critical thinking possess marked effective followership A typical example is the Rwandan case. When the leader came, he trained the people deliberately, let them stop thinking in the old way they are thinking, and then let them understand that there's a better option for their country. And Rwanda is a huge case study for not only Africa, but for the whole world. The other one is we must understand, this is concluding, organizations, societies, or groups are made up of a majority of followers. You know, anywhere you go, come to Dominican University, majority are followers. Go to any state, majority are followers. The leaders are few. So when more insight into followership is attained, competitive advantages can also be gained in the context of organizational governance. Therefore, for Nigeria, creative followership will imply that leaders are held more responsible for their actions, and then campaign promises, and the united front is built to tackle the challenges of the nation as against the multiple interests that influence followers' assessment of leaders currently. So what I'm saying is that if followers are trained to hold their leaders accountable for those things they say before elections, those things they do while in office, then leaders will begin to take them more seriously, and then we will be able to gradually, if not completely, move out of our current depressed state. Essentially, I am touting the example of Rwanda again, because it's a test case of success, of how leaders have also helped, followers have also helped leaders to achieve organizational or nation goals and objectives. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Shall we put our hands together for Father Obilo, Felix Obilo?
Obialo.
Obialo.
Even though it's the same meaning.
Okay. Yeah. For doing justice to that topic, Chinua Achebe was said to have analyzed the main problem of Nigeria, which Prof. Anele made reference to, that is that of leadership. The father is proposing a paradigm shift. So instead of relying on the leaders, why don't we rely on creative followership? And that's where, and he's giving us a case study of a proven success story with Rwanda. So thank you, Father, for that paradigm shift. We need to shift the way we, the paradigm shift must start with our mind, the way we reason. So instead of relying on the faith leaders, let's rely on ourselves. Adopt creative ways to implement the change we want. Thank you, Father. Shall we put our hands together for him again? And then, sorry, kindly take the floor and introduce yourself. I don't know your name, but if you don't, you can do it for me. Announce the topic and your name, please.
Good day, one and all. My name is Marvelous Mary. I understand there will be an issue with this, no? So I'll just present it to my phone because I'm not with my laptop. Marvelous Mary. The title of my paper is Gender, Governance and Technology, Bridging the Gap in Nigeria's Crisis of Social Insecurity and Economic Depression. From the keynote address, we got a list of a chronological order of how Nigeria has gone from different leaders and how we have arrived at a failed state. This presentation is proposing a paradigm shift that asks all us as a people to consider gender inclusion as a path that can lead us out of the problems that we found ourselves in as a nation. This is because I don't know if we know that Nigerian women make up nearly 50% of our population, yet only 7% of this population hold political position. What this implies is that from those who lead us and those who rule, the higher population is not gotten from that. If 50% of our population are women and only 7% out of them are those in government, then we need to understand that we don't have our best in governance. The whole idea of this paper, just as a summary because of time constraint, is that we need to, the father that spoke on virtue. We need to look at virtue basically from that angle that Aristotle looked at it. When I come out to talk about gender or talk about equality, equity in gender, I as a guy talking about it and people begin to look at me as weird and a simp, I am moving at that Aristotelian virtue position that does not see patriarchy or misandry, the other extreme, but trying to find that mean, that virtue, where equality meets, where we drag patriarchy and drag misandry, and meet at a position where we can have equal representation of women in government. I will even decide not to use this slide again and just speak, because if we look at our problem in Nigeria currently, we are only facing a problem of implementation. And I'm going to make that with the gender policy that we have as of 2006, that stated that 35% of women should be in governance. Up till now, we've not been able to achieve that. Look at women politicians that we have in Nigeria currently. You will find that even those that get political appointments are either witch hunt out of office or frustrated in their departments. This paper argues that, excuse me, this paper therefore argues that with a proper assimilation of African values and frameworks like that of Ubuntu, which the previous speaker, Father Paulinus, had also mentioned, we can understand that I am only because we are. If we agree that each person is unique and important, if we properly assimilate Ubuntu, then we will realize that a woman, just because of the gender she has been blessed with at birth, should not be sidelined in the development of a nation. And then, when we come to use the other philosophical framework of proper feminism, we would be able to move our nation forward. Feminism, not what is practiced on Twitter, where we find people advocating for the killing of men. That's a discussion for a different day. That is not feminism. Feminism in its true sense, there's no true feminism. Feminism is feminism. It's like saying true truth. There's no true truth. Feminism itself should move for equity and not hatred for men. So this paper argues that a proper assimilation and integration of Ubuntu and feminism into the Nigerian system, we can be able to truncate some of the issues that are currently holding the nation down. Lastly, by the use of technology, the paper argues that through AI-driven solutions, we can also move the nation ahead, using AI to integrate women to bring about this change in society. And this has been made possible in a number of countries, even in Africa. In Rwanda, they were able to do this with AI, and they've moved their women participation in governance to over 60%. And with this, we know where Rwanda is currently in Africa. If men have been doing it and it is no longer working, with what the keynote address speaker has stated, all those that have ruled us are men. And one way or the other, it does not mean that change is gender or that it is a woman that is going to do this. But from what I started with, more than half of our population, about half of our population being women and being sidelined, should tell us that one way or the other, the best amongst us are being suppressed. And if we look at it, we've seen a number of women that have stood out in Nigeria and they've made great names. If we already look at Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, then if she's that good and she has come out from amongst us, then we should also imagine how many other Ngozis are there hidden by our patriarchal norms that is suppressing them. Just from a young age, they are already being suppressed to the point that they will not have that potential to necessarily come out to become one who she is, if not for her own doggedness and her resilience. As a summary, this paper simply calls for, one, the implementation of the strategies that have already been put in place in seeing that there is at least a handful representation of women in governance. Not just, it's even laughable that what the gender policy is asking for is 35%, and we've not met that. When Buhari was campaigning, he also said the same thing. Women will come into play, we will bring women into governance, we will ensure that there are women representation, but it has not happened. So, if we can at least begin by implementing things that we already have in place that aims to see that women are allowed to actively participate in governance and not frustrated out of office or witch hunt out of this office or made to necessarily be puppets in the hands of the men through whom or through whose influence they've been able to get to those positions, then we can actually move ourselves as a nation forward. Well, my central argument is that women are not just victims of systemic challenges. They are key agents of change. If we understand that, we would realize that women have a very important place in us as a nation moving out of our current depressions. There is this African adage I will end with. When you empower a woman, you empower a nation. Thank you.
Shall we put our hands together for him for doing justice to that title? My own takeaway from his presentation is that feminism, sexism should be positive. It should be used for the development of everybody, both men and women. Thank you very much. And without much ado, even though I'm the moderator, if you permit me, just 5 minutes, I'll speak about my own topic. I won't take much time. So my title is On Solutions to Nigeria's Foundational Problems. On Solutions to Nigeria's Foundational Problems. Social insecurity, economic depression, crisis of governance are all signs of a failed state. And we got a good dose of those from the lead lecture from Prof. Anele. So those signs have always been with Nigeria, with the geographical space known as Nigeria. Pre-colonial rule, during the colonial rule, and during the independence and post-independence until now. As a little kid, when I knew Nigeria to be experiencing the same thing, social insecurity, economic depression, and crisis in governance from early 70s, right after the war, until now, same complaint. When I dialogue with people like Prof, I hear the same sentiments. Just a typical example. In 1767, Nigeria witnessed her first massacre of natives in Calabar. And why? The merchants, the trade merchants, had a disagreement with trade, had a disagreement on trade matters with the natives in Calabar, the old Biafra. And then they invited the natives to come to the ship for settlement. And so the natives came into the ship, and some around the ship on little boats. Some brought gifts even for the trade merchants. By the time they came so close to the ship, they opened fire and killed about 88 of the natives. So that happened in 1767. The very first documented massacre of the natives of southern Nigeria. So that didn't stop. We can still trace those insecurity, social insecurity, economic depression through the annexation of Lagos by the British in 1850, through the destruction of Benin Kingdom at the turn of the century, 1899, the Ijebu Wars against the British, same. The Oyo Ibadan resistance wars with the British, same. The Arochukwu Confederation wars with the British, same. The wars of the British against the Sokoto Caliphate, same. So we've always had those three: social insecurity, economic depression, and crisis in government. The Biafran War can also be traced to that. Now, what are the reasons for these social insecurities? The three problems mentioned above have always been with us since the foundation of Nigeria. And there are three foundational problems of Nigeria that are responsible for this, namely the Hausa Fulani Islamic hegemony, the Igbo Republican hegemony, and the Yoruba socialist hegemony. So hegemony is about control of a space, economics, and power. So the first problem with the foundation of Nigeria was the irreconcilable ideology, the three irreconcilable ideologies of these hegemonies I've mentioned. And then next is the second foundational problem of Nigeria was the forced union between the Northern Protectorate and the Southern Protectorate without the consent of the people at the amalgamation of Nigeria in 1914. About 6 different ethnic groups signed the amalgamation documents. The Igbo objected, so they were excluded. So their signatures were not there. So that was also part of the problem. So that needs to be revisited. And then the third foundational problem of Nigeria is the British interest. We can call that the British imperialist hegemony. So it's basically they want to control the space known as Nigeria. It belongs to them. They bought it for about 865,000 pounds, around 1900. So they want to control the space known as Nigeria, the people and the resources. So for you to govern Nigeria, you must go to Chatham House, the Foreign Office, to sign an agreement that you protect British interests. Otherwise, they will not back you up. So any solutions to Nigeria's social insecurity, economic depression, crisis in government must take into consideration these 4 hegemonies. So if you don't take care of them, the Hausa Fulani Islamic hegemony, the Igbo Republican hegemony, the Yoruba socialist hegemony, and then the British imperialist hegemony. If you don't take into consideration those four, you're wasting your time. Thank you. Yes, please. Okay, so may I have the pleasure to invite the representative of the Commissioner of Police to say a few words.
Good afternoon, all. My name is ACP Omololofon. I'm the area commander, Moniya Ibadan. I believe all of you, some of you know Moniya. Moniya is after Ojo. When you get to Ojo, you move forward, continue moving. You get to IITA. After IITA, you get to Moniya. So I'm representing the Commissioner of Police of Oyo State, the person of CP Ayodele Shonubi Ayodele. Yes, I want to stand on the existing protocol. Well, I've been seeing you. I've been seeing everybody talking about all bordering about the challenges that we in Nigeria are facing. And as security experts too, I don't feel like making a little contribution before I leave this gathering. So firstly, I want to say I'm very more delighted to be in your midst today. I want to talk about the depression. Everybody know what depression means. Depression is a state of sadness when somebody has lost hope of getting to that destination, of making it, when you have already lost hope of making it in life. So we say that somebody has been depressed. You see a lot of people nowadays, because of what they are experiencing, some family, they cannot pay school fees of their children. Some, they cannot do all the necessary things in the house. When you get to this stage, if not God grace, a lot of people lose hope. They be in their room, they do something that will lead to their death. Or some of them will hang, some of them will jump into the rivers. We have seen a lot. And what are those things? This depression? Why are we having depression in Nigeria, especially in Nigeria? It's because we don't have good leadership. All of you have been talking about the leadership. We don't have good leadership. Some of our leaders, sorry to say, you're all aware, some of our leaders, they are bad. And when the leaders fail to perform its responsibility as a leader, as a government, definitely it's going to affect the masses. And that's what is happening to Nigeria now. You can see of recent now they have increased fuel. Fuel is almost 1,000 plus now. A lot of people ask vehicle, but they cannot bring it out again because we cannot afford to buy fuel. Some of us, some Nigerians, they can no longer take care of their children's school fees again. They withdraw them from school. We are hearing this on news from radio every day because of the bad governments. Because of the bad governments, we cannot do a lot of things again. And again, I even had it 2 days ago that they want to increase the tariff of the telecommunication, this phone we are using. They want to increase the money. We don't know how far they are going to do it. Maybe they don't want us to phone again. But we heard it from the radio, from the television, that they want to increase the tariff. But I want to tell you that we should all prepare. Nigeria can still good again. It is we that we need to do it. There is no any Messiah anywhere. We are the Messiah, but we need to prepare ourselves. And how are we going to prepare ourselves? Some of the problems we have been having is caused by our bad government. For instance, now, this issue of insecurity, we have been having an issue of insecurity in Nigeria. Some of all the bandits, they are being arrested by the security. When to detain them, as time goes on, government, they will say they want to negotiate. Somebody that destroy lives, destroy property. What do they supposed to do to prosecute them? You see another governor, he say he want to negotiate with them because some of his family or some of the political followers, they are among them. Those are the things that have been causing problem for us. Where you see somebody that have been killing innocent people continuously, and you are still saying that you want to negotiate with them, what kind of negotiation? Those who have been negotiating with them, they are not changed, they are not repent. Now you still want to, instead of you to go to give them capital punishment. Those are the causes of our problem. And again, adjournment, implementation of the criminal justice is not even helping us. You see some of the capital cases, some of the private cases that the judiciary, they don't need to waste more time. By the time you bring a suspect to the court, a bandit to the court, a criminal, a murderer to the court, and you are continuing adjourning it. The time we call that you are no longer interested, that all the relevant documents, all the relevant evidence will be destroyed. These are the causes of our problem. When somebody kills somebody, what you need to do, like some of all these kidnappers, some of all these governors that they have been embezzling our money. Have you ever seen anybody found guilty? Is it only that they will just arrest them? The moment they arrest them, EFCC arrest them, they spend just a week with the EFCC. What we follow is they be talking about the bail. At the moment they secure bail, you will not hear anything from that case again. That's the end of the case. Whatever money that the person have embezzled it for life. These are the causes of our problem. Let's leave the issue of familiarity, the issue of family. Let's set it apart. Let's try to do the right thing. Somebody that embezzled the money, it's not your money, it's Nigerian money, and it's affecting everybody. Let them face the court. In abroad, in other countries, this is not the way they are doing it. We are the one that encourage this to be continued embezzle the money. So that's the reason I say we are the Messiah of ourselves. Let's just prepare that we are going to fight this thing, because by the special grace of God, tomorrow we will find ourselves in that position. I'm not talking of now, but surely we are going to find ourselves. If ourselves is not find in that position, our children tomorrow they be there. Let's begin to tell them to do the right thing. And again, issue of prerogative of mercy is all borders about the position too. Prerogative of mercy. You see many people that they are giving them judgment, they are giving them some of those are waiting. These capital offenses that keep people, innocent people, commit serious crime. Some of them that have passed, they have been convicted. One day you get somebody, maybe he become governor, and want to favor his political father. The political father, maybe his children is in the cell. They will say prerogative of mercy. That certain people, they are allowed them to go in the name of prerogative of mercy. What do you understand by prerogative of mercy? It's the power given to the governor to allow any suspect, any person that are found guilty, to go to their arm. That was the, and once they allow you to go, there's nothing you can do again, because our law give our governors that power, that prerogative of mercy. These are the causes of our problem. But one day, let's try to improve. Let's try to stand on our own. By the time we stand on our own, we are putting it to our children, all these things will no longer there. There is no way police can be working, other security agent can be working, and if this practice is continued, there will be any, we will not go far. We will not go far. And again, I've talked about all these things. Again, this bargaining. This bargaining is also common, very rampant among our politicians. When somebody invests the money, they will say bargaining that let's discuss, let's sit down together. How much can you offer? How much can you pay back? If somebody say, okay, you took like a vessel 10 million, okay, I pay back 3 million, 4 million. The government will have said they will leave you to go. And you see ordinary person on the street, maybe he's really hungry, he's stole bread, and people will kill him. Somebody that taking million, you are negotiating, please bargain with them. So these are the things that all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. But I believe there's no problem that doesn't have solution. One of the solutions is this: anybody that found guilty, anybody that be confused, anybody that be given capital punishment, let's try to maintain it. Let that person face that music. And again, nowadays we discover that some of our politicians, maybe because of the bad economy, the moment they are able to entice us with little money, little thing, we start, if we got those who are not creditable, we started voting for them. When they give us rice, bag of rice, a little money, 10,000, 5,000, you lose your conscience. And you know that the moment those we get to the position, firstly what they will do is to get back their money they are giving to you. We should start learning how to change. Let's try to change our orientation now. Anybody that you want to vote for, let's vote for those who are credible, those who have that capacity, those who know that they have good record, that they can do it, that when they get there, they will not disappoint us. Don't vote for anybody because of material thing, because 10,000, because 5,000. Let's begin to teach our children, our family, our people in the villages that they should stop doing that thing. That is the reason Nigeria is not progressing, because a lot of things they can easily laws to all these small things. That's why we say we have a bad governor. They cannot do this. You see a lot of states, they cannot do a lot of things. And again, if we are able to shun corruption, if we are able to shun corruption in Nigeria, we will go far. Not until somebody said to you that you do the right thing for him. Even including the police. It's also affecting the police too. Let's try to do the right thing. When people bring cases to your office, make sure you do the right thing. Don't say because A doesn't have money, it's B that have money. And you know that B that have money is at fault. But because it's half money, you now turn it upside down because they are giving money. That one is not good, because anywhere that we are not there, God there. Let's have fear of God in whatever we are doing. God will help us in Jesus' name. Thank you very much. Thank you for that.
Shall we put our hands together for the police commissioner representative? So, officer has told us not to despair. There is hope for restoration, and that restoration begins with me. And so tomorrow, if I find myself in places of leadership, I'll let that change begin with me, and Nigeria will get better, in Jesus' name. So as we have full plenary, I will hand over to the MC to continue from where he stopped.
Thank you very much. Can we put our hands together for ourselves? We're on course, even though slightly not on the timeline, but we're making progress. So at this stage, we're in number 12 of the sequence of our events, page 4. Aquinas says that there are twofold office of a wise man: to promote the truth and to demote falsehood. And that is exactly what we are doing here by this gathering. And Aquinas is a man that does not need introduction. He's an angelic doctor. He's a saint in the Universal Church, the Catholic Church, and is also a renowned scholar of no mean feat. His works are so much and so impactful. It is the fruit of those impacts that is triggering this discussion. 700 years ago, that is 2023, we gathered in this arena to celebrate his 700th anniversary of his canonization when he was made saint. So it is the fruit of that celebration that we have here today. And we want you to go with a copy, or at least 2. If you want to keep one, and give a friend one. So we'll make the copies available. Can you come forward? So that we give it to those who are here present. They can take a copy or 2 and come forward. Indicate what they want to go home with, how much they want to go home with this copy. The book is a collection of various articles of persons who came here for the book worth more than 5,000, but we will not stop you from paying anything above. So we have over 1, 2, 3, 4. More than 20 articles contained in this book. Is it? Account details. Account details is GTB 066 381 5383. GTB 066 381 5383. So you can always indicate the account is written in peace. You can always collect too. The account's name is Journal of Humanities, Dominican University, Journal of Humanities. So while that is going on, we ask that the Dean Faculty of Science be getting ready to present the recognition to our keynote speaker by way of appreciation. So if you want to make comments on the book by way of a donation, you let us know so that we can allow you. But if you want it to be silent, it's also allowed. We also want to inform all those who made presentation in the syndicate session, both the lead speaker and other presenters, that they are to rework their paper, improve on it, clean it up for publication, and forward it immediately. It will also be published in this manner so that those who were not able to get the detail of your presentation can also have the opportunity to read through. Because we do not have the gift of bilocation, you could be only in one syndicate session. But when you get the book publication, you will have the luxury of reading through all that is presented. Let me confirm the availability of the keynote speaker so that we can make the presentation.
I've tried it several times. 06638153885. Ah, this one. No. 38153 066.
This is 3.
Oh,
Which one is 3?
83.
83.
All right.
The last one.
Yes, sir. 83.
83.
Okay.
We want to make the presentation of the price, so you can write. We want to present. May I now invite our keynote speaker to rise and the Dean of Faculty of Science to present this recognition for doing this wonderful work for us in gratitude to him on behalf of the university. Be in the center so that
So, let's move to this. I stand on the well-established protocol. So, sir, we are honored to have you. And everybody here will agree with me that our professor took us down the lane of history. I personally learned a lot. Many of us here were born years after the Civil War, and there were so many things we do not know about. Today, he made some of these things clear to us. So in appreciation to this wonderful lecture, sir, we want to thank you. Thank you in a very tremendous way for what you have done, for the speech, for the advice, and for pointing out the way forward for all of us. Thank you so much. We are very grateful. Thank you, sir. Professor Douglas Anele, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. We want to invite for vote of thanks Reverend Father Professor Dokun Oyeshola OP. He is the Dean, Faculty of Humanities, Management and Social Sciences. Prof, you are welcome.
Very short vote of thanks. Our socio-economic reality today, Nigeria, is a very tough, difficult setting. People have a lot of challenges to face. I want to eat, I want to drink. Is a major concern for almost everybody. In the face of that reality, to see some individuals coming round to say we are not tired, we want to continue to think, to interrogate the problematics around us, is a sign of commitment. And so I will first of all express our gratitude for all those who are committed to this orientation, to this challenge, that in spite of all the difficulties, we can never be tired. We continue to think, to reflect, and make proposals so that we can have a better future. So once again, I thank every one of you for taking part in this act of commitment to the progress of our nation. The VC, when she was making her presentation, she started by driving right away into socio-economic situation of the country and all the attendant difficulties and challenges. And then from then, she went on to talk about our mission, our vision, what we are trying to do as a university, as part and parcel of what she was saying at the very beginning. And when our keynote speaker came on board, he gave us a lot of history of Nigeria. Again, discourse of nationhood of our country, all the struggle, political activities and all that, and subsequent socio-political problems as context of today's colloquium that we are trying to interrogate. So all those things came during the presentation he made. And towards the very end, he mentioned something along the direction of solution, that the dimension of solution should also embrace, among others, that we cannot simply say the political or the leadership is bad. Politics is bad. And now, more or less, be looking at a distance. Let them go and do it in the way they want to do it. No, we must also be concerned about that dimension, that something also must be done in that way. And those who are not interested in politics should not blame anybody else. We begin to take part in politics and do whatever is necessary as part and parcel of one of the steps you can take in resolving some of the problematics that Nigeria is facing. Again, the dimension of confronting all of us, all the citizens, it is not their job alone. We also have our own role to play. Go to the poll when it is necessary to do your own part. Have a different orientation of mind. Don't simply say it doesn't matter. In our own little way, let us make our own contribution. All these are part and parcel of what is shared with us during the presentation. And many other speakers from their different perspectives. We are also addressing all these problems in their different groups. And also very interesting to also hear what the representative or the commissioner was also saying during his remark during that particular period. Again, all along, we also want to express our gratitude to all the members of the Department of Philosophy and all the major players in making sure that we're able to have this colloquium today. We thank every one of them for the effort, the struggle they went through. We also are expressing our gratitude to all of us, and we also particularly single out the Commissioner of Police for, even though he is representing, is it authority, government, but very fact that you are wearing the uniform, because whatever you tell us as a policeman, we are expected to obey. And for you to also to be different from the way you perceive the problem, you didn't see those problems from the point of view of they. You see it also part and parcel of our own problem, my problem. What can I also do to make my own little contribution? Thank you for your input in that particular session. And since it's supposed to be a very short one, so I want to more or less say everyone that has taken part in this program, we are very, very appreciative. The Lord who sees what is done in secret will reward every one of you. All the contributions you have made privately, publicly, and all that will also be rewarded abundantly. And when we are going back to our respective homes, we are asking the Lord to see us through, to get home safely. And once again, let us remember, no matter how terrible it is, my old teacher used to say, if your mother is a prostitute, there's nothing you can do about that. You just have to struggle very hard, either pray to God to change her, to become better somebody. Nigeria is our country. We don't have any other home as such. Therefore, let us do our own part in making whatever type of contribution we need to make, so that at the end of the day, if not in our own time, our future generation will be able to have a better Nigeria. So once again, many, many, many thanks.
Thank you very much. One thing with thank you is that there is no way you will thank yourself. So may we thank the person who thanked us. Can we put our hands together for him? At this point, we are coming to the closure of this ceremony. We want to make sure we leave here as promised, 2 o'clock, or anything plus or minus 5-10 minutes. So the next is supposed to be group photograph, but it will take some time. So let us do it outside when we have done closing prayer. So we'll take the national anthem if we are ready, and then university anthem with the closing prayer from the university chaplain, Reverend Father John Mark Ibualisi. May we rise for the anthems.
This is the flag of the new nation. Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land.
excellence and integrity. We shall seek finest spread the truth, for in truth is our liberty. Dominican University, pride of the order of preachers, the history of the struggle is written by the victors. The truth of the victory is told by the courageous. In God we find the truth, in veritatis libertas. Dominican University, we shall rise and strive to climb mountain peaks in motion deep, push the frontiers and blaze the trail. To this clarion call we respond, toil for off we shall not despond, learning the truth and liberty, for in truth is our liberty. Dominican University, pride of the order of preachers, the history of the struggle is written by the victor. The truth of the victory is told by the courageous. In God we find the truth, in veritatis libertas.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. We give you thanks, Almighty God, for the graces bestowed upon us this day. As we come to the end of this Aquinas Colloquium, we ask that you give us the grace to emulate the life of St. Thomas Aquinas, that we may not only seek the truth, but also live out the truth. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. The Lord be with you. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much. With the permission of the LOC chairman, the local organizing committee chairman, Reverend Father Dr. Joseph Ekong OP, I have the joy to announce to the students here present that they can get this book only for today, 3,000. If they have the money, they can pick a copy for 3,000 naira. Students who are here and they want to have a copy of this. Thank you very much. Before you go, make sure you take something that is prepared as refreshment. We all go out for the group photograph now, please, so that your faces will show. Thank you very much. Is there? The dignitary, we are ushering them. The lead paper presenters and the other dignitaries will go to the cafeteria. But let's go for the good photograph first.